Basketball courts have been covered with soil to grow crops, sidewalks are being turned into sweet potato fields, and trees are being uprooted to transform urban parks into farmland. A farmland restoration movement is sweeping across China. Due to the pandemic and extreme weather, China is facing an unprecedented food production challenge. Meanwhile, Russia's invasion of Ukraine worsens China's food imports, and food shortage became a big concern of China's leaders. CCP leader Xi Jinping has repeatedly given instructions on the food issue, emphasizing the importance of local food supply. In the March 6 conference of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference this year, Xi Jinping expressed his concern over the arable land, saying that the central government should sign a military order with all local governments to ensure 297 million acres of arable land. Subsequently, the Chinese Communist authorities launched a Great Leap Forward style campaign to restore arable land. Under the high pressure, various absurd phenomena of resuming farming emerged one after another. Recently, numerous videos of these acts were spread online, arousing public attention. In one video, industrial trucks and excavators could be seen dumping mounds of dirt right onto a rural basketball court, covering the entire area with soil. Farmers were then seen sowing this patch soon after. Then we see a 4-laned two-way highway where the middle 2 lanes have been completely covered with a layer of soil, on which sweet potatoes were planted for further growth. Another video shows this happening to a road still in the middle of construction. Before they even had the chance to pour in the cement, local officials had already ordered for it to be covered with soil under the supervision of superiors. In this video, we see that the sidewalk in front of this man's house has already been demolished to make way for farmland. All these trees seen here are going to be chopped down under the order of the authorities, also for the sake of farmland. Even this square is now being filled, as we see excavators covering the area with red soil. Although hardly noticeable at this point, the area shown used to be a public garden, until it was also covered for sweet potato crops. For over 20 years, this area was originally used to grow fruit. Now, all of these trees are being uprooted, transforming this land into fields. Throughout China, local governments have been forcibly promoting their farm restoration actions, using an across-the-board approach to directly bulldoze and fill in these areas of land, refusing to compensate people for their losses. As such, many people have reacted in righteous outrage, leading to some arrests. So far, there have been at least a few dozen arrests throughout the provinces of Zhejiang, Fujian, Shandong, and Guangdong. An official in Hubei has also confirmed to Radio Free Asia that the central government has ordered this strict approach over land restoration, and that all local governments have been notified. The disclosed reason behind these extreme means has been due to China's concern about lack of self-sufficiency with food, now that their imports have been negatively affected. The officials had also said that since farm restoration is now a requirement under President Xi Jinping's orders, local governments are also under extreme pressure to enforce these orders. Such pressure can be especially seen around cities near river deltas and the southeast coast, such as Guangdong. There, the central government has ordered a quota of 132,000 acres of new farmland by the end of 2022. As such, the local officials are now desperate and will just cover random places with soil just to meet this quota. Radio Free Asia commented that from the early days of turning farmland to forests, promoting agricultural tourism to the current farmland restoration efforts, each of these large-scale changes have led to grave losses for the general public. This begs the question, just how bad is China's food crisis right now? Are all of these desperate changes actually justified? Looking at China's self-sufficiency rate can be a good indicator of the country's food security. At the Tsinghua Sannong Forum of 2022, Du Ying's research team announced their study results. Over the last 2 decades, China's self-sufficiency rate for food dropped from 100% to 76%, and is predicted to further drop to 65% by 2035. While the self-sufficiency of grains has stayed above 97%, the self-sufficiency of oilseeds has dropped from 81% to just 25%, and that of soybeans from 60% to 17%. According to data from the Chinese customs, China produced only 16.4 million tons of soybeans in 2021 and imported the remaining 96.5 million tons. With a calculated self-sufficiency rate of just 14.5%, the results proved to be even lower than the ones shown in the study. Due to its invasion of Ukraine, Russia is currently under sanctions from Western countries, and as the CCP is considered an ally of Russia, they may be subjected to sanctions at any time. According to World Integrated Trade Solutions, in 2019, China's top 5 food importers are France, Australia, the United States, the Netherlands, and New Zealand. Obviously, all of these countries will sanction China if deemed necessary, and as such, China has to prepare in the event that Russia's invasion of Ukraine leads to impacts on China's food imports. There are also internal factors to note that have affected China's local productivity. In recent years, China has lost a lot of arable land due to rapid urbanization, real estate development, and the replacement of arable land by new factories. The loss of arable land has also been caused by the changing policies of the CCP over the past 30 years, which at one point in time called for the return of farmland to forests, another time calling for the promotion of aquaculture, and at another time emphasized the need to increase forest land in a carbon-neutral manner. As a result, China now has only 0.23 acres of arable land per capita, which is 1/3 of the global average. At the same time, the quality of arable land is also declining due to the heavy use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, as well as water and soil pollution caused by factory effluents. Another problem is the loss of their rural labor force. A few years ago, the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences and Renmin University of China jointly finished a survey on farming in rural areas. The results of the survey was that 70% of the participants did not want their children and relatives to work in agriculture, while only 10% explicitly said they wanted themselves and their offsprings to continue working in agriculture. One of the main reasons for this phenomenon is that farming is becoming less and less profitable. In recent years, the price of seeds, pesticides, and fertilizers have been rising year after year, but the price of food has remained low. As such, farmers are having a harder and harder time turning a profit from their occupation. For example, if you plant rice, assuming a yield of 2,400 kilograms per acre, an acre of rice can be sold for about $838.2 US. After subtracting the cost of farming such as seeds, pesticides, fertilizers, and irrigation, even if you do not count your own labor costs, the income of this acre of land is only around $194. Practically speaking, each household will cultivate no more than 1.5 acres of land. So even if each acre can get the state subsidy of $90, the annual income is less than $500. So in this situation, more and more farmers choose to go to the city to work. Right now, almost all of China's rural villages are now practically ghost towns, with only 1/10 of the population being permanent residents, mostly consisting of elderly women and children. Young people are simply unwilling to return to their hometowns to farm, and the elderly are unable to carry out large-scale agriculture. This phenomenon caused by urbanization is everywhere, and the trend is getting more and more serious for the nation. In order to maintain the stability of the regime, the higher-ups of the CCP will certainly look for a solution to the food crisis caused by these combinations of internal and external problems. However, in the current political movement-style approach, officials at the bottom have no choice but to use force and violence against their citizens in order to keep their official positions. They will use deception and lies against the upper officials in order to deal with the incompetent higher-ups who give unreasonable orders at the drop of a hat. Once the policies end, everything will return to its original state, after even more resources get wasted over the impractical efforts. This absurd model of farming restoration is ultimately nothing more than a farce. Once the food crisis occurs, it is the people who will inevitably suffer in the end.